Uh, Hello, and welcome to another Pioneer live paper commentary with myself and my usual partner, Jay. Welcome back, Jay.
Thank you. It's great to be back. So what matchups do we have today?
Well, today we're going to have our channel favorite, the Abzan Greasefang deck, up against Boros Heroic, a deck we haven't seen too much of in a while.
All right, so a fast deck versus a combo deck. I wonder how it's going to go.
A lot of people would trend to say that it would depend who got the first turn, right? And as we're seeing, the aggressive decks having the first turn. Greasefang does have the ability to sort of play against aggressive strategies, sort of on the back of how good its combo can be. It's early enough, but the Boros Heroic deck can just spike with the right set of cards, a right set of draws. The Boros Heroic deck can win on turn 3 itself, purely on the value of the creatures and the buff spells that it's playing.
Agreed. And even if they don't win, or before Greasefang comes down, a card like God's Willing can mean that they can get through Greasefang and 2 Flying Angels pretty easily for the last hit, and they could just take a huge hit from those Angels first.
Yeah, I think one of the more prominent things to note that we would notice about this list is how much white heavy the creatures are, outside of the Seeker's Chariot when that comes down, or the flying flagship because it's colorless. But the 2 angel tokens, they're white. Greasefang is white. Rafine's Informant that we see on the board right now is white. So yeah, just one color protection spell just sort of opens the gates. And the Boros Heroic player has a double striker as well on the board.
Yeah, that double striker gets out of hand quickly, because if you target it, you get to connive with it, and the heroic player, they're only running 17 lands. They're probably going to get counters on that Illuminator just from the connive. And then there are things like Homestead Courage, which you can cast from your graveyard as well, so it's great to discard that.
Yeah, speaking of which, we see one being cast right now. And yeah, you're right, Jay. Like in a deck like this, it functions as 1, a win condition, but 2, card filtering, right?
Yeah, agreed. You see that she's drawn another land here, and it looked like a Den of the Bugbear, which maybe she feels is useful. She's choosing to keep it. But she's able to get rid of a Swift Spear, which at the moment, she's got 2 creatures. Greasefang doesn't have much removal. She probably doesn't need another creature, she just needs more spells. So it is a way to dig, which is very good, like you said.
Yeah. And this is like a 3/3 double strike. It is a very simple jump for the Greasefang player. And if the Greasefang player has Greasefang right here, he can start dealing with the board right now.
Ooh, it looks like the fact that they're playing a Rafine's Informant, they may be missing their 3rd land drop, and they don't have any black mana available at the moment. It looks like they have 2 Selesnya lands.
Now they do have the black mana available. It's a little painful. Mana confluence in this type of matchup. I think every bit of life matters when you're trying to get to the combo endgame against this aggressive deck, right?
Agreed. I think no matter what the attack is, I believe that Rafine's Informant is going to get thrown in front of one of them again, because aside from the ETB trigger, it doesn't really advance the game plan all too much. So I suspect that the Greasefang player just won't mind it getting under the Illuminator Virtuoso.
Yeah. One thing to note about the previous combat was that the Boros Heroic player tapped the Virtuoso when it had Vigilance. Ultimately, didn't do anything, but Homestead Courage does provide a +1/+1 counter and Vigilance for the turn. We see her play that out correctly with the Hoplite.
Favorite Hoplite, yeah.
And a 3rd Rafine's Informant. Well, we talk about how good the double striker is for conniving and filtering through the deck. Rafine's Informant's doing very much the same thing for the Greasefang player right now.
Yeah, I think Rafine's Informant is, right now, they're clearly lacking Greasefang, but I think playing Rafine's Informant every turn does get them closer to Greasefang. And it also provides these chump blockers. Look, they're playing their 4th land now, and they're only at 16 life. They've only taken 4 life. They have a very healthy life total. Obviously, Boros Heroic can take that down very, very quickly. But it's very commendable from the Greasefang player to be at such a high life total. And you can see there's a Greasefang in the graveyard now.
So there's possible setup if the Greasefang player has any sort of revival spells. I don't know. Like, you're right. They're in quite a high life total.
Yeah, they also gained 2 off the Witherbloom command. Well, lost 1 from Mana Confluence, but then gained 2, so they gained 1 life overall. So they're up to 17. They're only 1 life lower than their opponent. But
also, to go back to what you said in the beginning, Jay, just 1 protection spell and a big enough creature, and suddenly this game could swing a bit.
Yeah, and here we see, Virtuoso 3 power last turn. Now it potentially will be 5 power after Defiant Strike and Conniving, getting it another counter. And if that thing gets through, that is already 10 damage.
It is but a lot of protection spells tend to be white, and there's only 1 white source for our Boros player right here.
Well, that is true, and it looks like their hand is all white cards apart from a Spikefield Hazard, which really doesn't help that much in this scenario. So I think it's just going to be swing in, deal a little bit of damage, and hopefully next turn be able to get the job done.
One thing I do see sometimes with the Spikefield Hazard play is often you'll find people target their own heroic things, especially this Connive card, because they know they can make it big enough to not kill it. But by targeting it, they can filter through more.
Yeah, maybe that turn they should have Spikefield Hazarded their Illuminator Virtuoso, and then hopefully drawn into, another white source or another red card that they can play. And it makes the Virtuoso a little bit bigger as well.
Yeah, but the board is clear at the moment. The Greasefang player is either looking for Greasefang or any other creature, playing 4 mana. A Seeker's Chariot, okay.
So if there's a God's Willing, I believe that should be lethal. Oh no, it's not lethal yet from the other side.
Not yet, but he is down to 13.
Oh no, yeah, down to 13. Now it is lethal, I believe. Because if Virtuoso connives once, it's lethal. Oh
no, it's definitely
this
lethal.
This hurts.
Okay.
I think the Greasefang player has to do that, because if there is God's Willing in the hand, and there isn't,
no,
then they had to remove it. So this hurts quite a lot. But if there was God's Willing in the hand, then the Greasefang player would feel very happy about themselves for taking the 3 life to Thoughtseize that way and potentially bring the game back.
Maybe if we look at the Boros player's hand, though, there is quite. Yeah, it's a very white heavy hand.
It's also all creatures apart from Homestead Courage, which isn't great.
It'd be funny if the Greasefang player had picked Homestead Courage in that board's position.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It looks like they took Spikefield Hazard, so they're just a red spell, so they don't want them to be able to double spell. Maybe prevent all damage that could be dealt to a favored Hoplite, and also maybe get an extra connive off Illuminator Virtuoso.
Yeah, the Boros player is a bit precious. Oh, and a Defiant Strike, digging twice, or digging once rather. I probably would have given it to the connive card to try to dig even further, right? If the win con right now is try to get
God's Willing, yeah, agreed.
A double blow.
I guess giving Favored Hoplite the extra counter means that it can't be eaten by a Seeker's Chariot.
And sequencing-ish. Okay.
Wispear comes out. Yeah. I guess they could have, if they played that before combat and attacked with it, a cat could have blocked it.
Yeah, but with Defiant Strike, it would have been a 2/3.
No, they drew this off Defiant Strike.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah. This is a card they drew off Defiant Strike. I think maybe they could have attacked with Monetary Swift Spear, because if they did block Swift Spear, they would take 5 from the Hoplite, or 10, which is lethal from the Virtuoso.
But I think it virtually is better on the back of, like, you don't need to waste an attacker. The clock is exactly the same either way, right? You're just whittling down the Greasefang player's blocking ability, and it looks like here that the Greasefang player is able to search for Greasefang. I
Yeah.
believe he has Delirium active.
And now it's going to take 3 life from these mana confluences to play a Greasefang, which is not a good place to be. 7 life against an aggressive deck.
Yeah, and now suddenly having that Swift Spear in the back now, it's just that extra swing.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to get with Greasefang? Because they've got Sky Sovereign and Chariot in the graveyard. I believe they don't have a Parhelion.
So Sky Sovereign would be really good here in regards to dealing with some of the board, right? The Connive card is only 3 power, I believe, at the moment.
No, it is a 4/4.
It's 4. Okay,
yeah, so it's
we'll
out of
probably
reach. And the favorite
Oh.
Hoplite is... Oh no, Parhelion is in the graveyard.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It must have gone milled and we must have missed it.
Well, wouldn't be the first thing we miss sometimes. But Parhelion will create the 2 angels. It'll go in for a massive swing.
Yeah, and
damage.
if the heroic player God's Willings, then they can always crew Chariot, and Chariot's green.
Yeah, but I think a God's Willing on the double striker. I don't know. There's quite a few avenues of play here.
There is, but they also have to be wary. I mean, Greasefang, this is what Greasefang can do. If they survive, long enough and get their combo. Look at this. The heroic player is down to 5 life.
But she was able to draw her second white source, which could be relevant here. There's a Homestead Courage that she can use to target, get another Connive trigger, just dig through the deck. Right?
That is true.
Especially looking at the board state at the moment.
Yeah, there's only 2 blockers. So if they can make every single one of their creatures lethal, it looks like they're targeting the Virtuoso to be able to get the Connive.
Yeah. Oh, and we see this player has top decked a land. Not the thing you want to see. But she decides to connive another Virtuoso, flashes it back, and drew another land off the top.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, and yeah, that's just game, because it's not lethal, and then the crackback. I think they may have been able to survive one more turn.
No, this player had no flying evasion, had no flying blockers.
Yeah, but the flyers would have had to jump in front to be able to survive.
That's true. I think
forcing the block.
Yeah,
I think forcing the block and then blocking Greasefang with like a Swift Spear. I mean, I think maybe if they played that out, they could have brought it back. I'm surprised at scooping there, although it must have been really frustrating to get those lands off the top at the very end when you're looking literally for any spell, like the spell that gives trample.
Yeah, I know, but I think one of the things you mentioned earlier was that there was a Sky Sovereign that would have been lethal regardless, right? Because Greasefang would still be on the board.
Oh yeah.
Give him that card haste.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah, but
agreed.
But assuming that wasn't in there, yeah, a play around that position would be to sort of force the block, and the Boros player did her best in this position. It wasn't a bad thing, but like you said, the Greasefang player's ability to just sort of hold on and just be able to block, just keep the life total healthy enough, just gave that player so much more time, even on the back of the mana confluences.
Yeah, agreed. All right, sideboard. I've got the Boros Heroic player's sideboard in front of me. I think she's going to bring in graveyard removal, so Tormod's Crypt. There are 2 of them. They also trigger Prowess, so it's important to sometimes hold the Crypt a turn just to be able to trigger Prowess when you want it. And then also a Braid, instant speed removal, and then I believe Fry instant speed removal, can take out Greasefang or an Angel.
Mm.
Maybe could be good.
One of the things I notice, especially if we look at the Greasefang list, is like, yes, Greasefang is white, Rafine's Informant is white, but in his sideboard he does run copies of Shouldred and copies of Glisser. And
Ooh.
you don't want to sort of top deck a Fry into a Glisser when it
That
could
is
be
true.
anything else.
Yeah, I didn't know that Abzan Greasefang. Is this just his list, or are all lists running Glisser and Shieldred and sideboards nowadays?
I believe in the list I'm looking at, it's a tech decision. So Glisser does have the ability to draw a card net advantage, but another aspect of Glisser is that she destroys enchantments, and a lot of the cards that hate on Greasefang reliably tend to be enchantments. So we're looking at like Rest in Peace, we're looking at Leyline and the Void.
True.
The ability to remove that and then go back into your game plan. Glisser is very reliable in that sense.
True. In terms of talking about removing graveyard hate, I think one of the best cards available to Greasefang is Abrupt Decay, because the premium graveyard removal in today's format is Rest in Peace and Unlicensed Hearse, and Abrupt Decay takes care of both of those.
Yeah. And maybe it was an option to not have it in this list over the fact that the sideboard sort of plays more into a more mid-rangey plan. Yeah, it keeps the combo, but it sort of wants to go mid-rangey, thinking, well, they could reliably survive a few turns with a creature like Glisser, with a creature like Shouldred. But going into game 2 now, we're looking at Dreadhorde Arcanist. Now, this is a card that we don't often see in a heroic list. It was in the original iterations of it, but has been dropped in most lists for, I guess, reasons relating to the speed of the card.
Yeah, agree. Dreadhorde can be really scary, but mostly it just you get it out and then it just dies. And it's not very good, especially with flashback cards, because you get those out of your graveyard anyway. I'm under the opinion that Dreadhorde Arcanist is best in a self-mill kind of deck, where you're able to fill up your graveyard. Because here we're going to see that Dreadhorde Arcanist is going to have no targets, really.
I mean, Dreadhorde Arcanist could target the Homestead
Courage, that's true. In fact, wait, it can target the Invigorating Rampage again, can't it?
It can, because it's big enough.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I take it back. Dreadhorde Arcanist is amazing.
So, what again, similar to the first game, Dreadhorde Arcanist has Vigilance here. But,
yeah.
Because one of the things you got to keep account of is that Greasefang's playing white. A lot of white cards, they prey on tap creatures, Where black is just like, I kill you. Green is like, I fight you. White is like, I see you sleeping, now I kill you,
Yeah, true. There's not many cards that are played that prey on white, but one of the cards that prey on tap creatures, but Wandering Emperor, one of the best cards in the format at the moment. If I'm playing Wandering Emperor, I hate to see, creatures with vigilance that I just can't kill.
Yeah. And it looks like they're working out the math here for how much damage is being pushed through. So, looking at the board, I believe a total of 11 damage is getting through with Trample with the 3/2 blocker. And there seems to be an agreement, so he's tapping it down. Should be down to 9 in this position, because the Dreadhorde Arcanist has Trample. And I believe the Hoplite has gained Trample with the red card as well.
Yeah, Invigorating Rampage gives them both +2/+0 and Trample.
So they're working out the damage, and it looks like they're getting a second opinion on the total.
They're getting calculator here.
Yeah.
This is the kind of card that the heroic player was really missing in game 1. They needed a way to get Trample or a way to give evasion. It looks like they only have 2 God's Willing and 2 Invigorated Rampage in their deck. Potentially they should look at maybe upping that number and maybe reducing the amount of creatures they have, because it looks like they've got 18 creatures in their deck.
The thing is, like, God's Willing is a good card, but understandably, you don't want to see too much of it. And they also run the other protection spell that doubles as a land in their list.
That is true. That is true.
And it looks like they're correcting the vigilance issue with the Dreadhorde Arcanist. And a Liliana coming down the board. Now, we know this is a sideboard inclusion because of the list I'm looking at right now. There's no Liliana on the main board. And they're opting to destroy the Dreadhorde Arcanist instead of the Hoplite.
I'm quite surprised by that. I think Dreadhorde Arcanist is quite good, you know? It looks like they may have another Dreadhorde Arcanist in their hand that they're looking to play out. And obviously Dreadhorde Arcanist gets a lot worse in multiples because you have to exile the cards after you use them.
But I would think just having something with Trample tacked on, it was already 2 power.
True. Well, I mean, what's going to happen now is Hoplite going to take out the Liliana?
Oh no, they're playing Legionary. Yeah, so it's a 2/2 with haste with very similar ability to Hoplite, but it scries every time you target it.
Yeah, it's genuinely a really good card. It's a card filtering that they need.
And speaking of card filtering, another trample spell in Ancestral Anger. So this gives trample +1/+0, but also draws. And this is a kind of card you don't want to be exiling out of your graveyard with Dreadhorde Arcanist, right?
That's true, but you don't mind getting to use it again because you get to draw another card if you Dreadhorde Arcanist it, and the extra +1/+0 of having it in your graveyard usually doesn't matter as much as drawing extra cards.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and the Boros player is opting to ignore Liliana, going straight to the face, down to 1. It's a discussion point in these type of positions where if the clock is similar, why not just deal with the Planeswalker on the board, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. They could have attacked one creature at the Planeswalker, one creature at face, but I believe one life does put them into a precarious situation where they can no longer play things like Thoughtseize. They can no longer use mana confluences. There weren't any on the board there, but what if they had a Chariot in their hand and a mana confluence in their hand? You know, it does lock them out of options, and it also means that next turn, if you had like a Swift Spear in your hand, you know that if you play that and that manages to connect, you've won the game.
Yeah, and we see right there that it was enough in the end, that the Greasefang player top decked and just didn't have an answer to quite a powerful board. I believe there were multiple avenues where the Boros player just won, regardless if he dealt with one of the creatures. And another thing to note, if we look at the main board and sideboard plan, the removal suite for Greasefang isn't there game 1, which is interesting. But I guess in game 1, you're sort of hoping to just rush into your combo, get that out of the way, and win on the back of the combo, and then the sideboard then deals with the specific matchup.
Yeah, I agree, because removal's not always great against aggressive decks. Against this one, removal is fantastic, because if you get to remove an early creature or two, and they just have a bunch of spells in their hand, you know, it's not very good for the Boros Heroic player. And also, if you manage to remove a Virtuoso after they've spent loads of time building up those counters on it, it sets them back quite a lot.
Yeah, you're right. And like, one of the things in this list, which a lot of sort of Boros Heroic players kind of skew towards, is the Wizard half. Now, it's kind of weird to sort of just say a creature archetype, but Wizard's Lightning is a very real card. It is the lightning bolt of the Pioneer format. And because it's one of the easier ones to fulfill the requirements of, right? All you need is a Wizard on the board. And a lot of what Boros Heroic wants to do, there's a red Wizard that does it for them. Soulscar Mage, for example, they already have Dreadhorde Arcanist. They could possibly run things like Electrostatic Infantry, and giving them that keyword gives them access to Wizard's Lightning, which 3 damage to the face. And I think that reach, especially in a matchup like this, could be relevant. Like, oh, they have too many blockers. Well, I top deck a Burn to the face and I could win that way.
Yeah, agreed. But I think in that situation, you're worrying about your deck being pulled in 2 directions. You know, Wizards Burn and Boros Heroic. They have similar ideas, but they are separate decks, and I feel like Soulscar Mage is not better than Monastery Swiftspear in this deck. The haste does matter quite a bit, and also they're not running any burn in this deck right now, and so
Yeah.
Soulscar Mage's extra ability doesn't really do anything.
No, I mean they do run one, the thing that targets your own creature and then deals 4 to the other.
Oh yeah, sorry, Reckless Rage. They do run that, and they also run Spikefield Hazard. That's it.
So there is some removal sweep, and like speaking of Spikefield Hazard, there's one coming in tapped, but like the Reckless Rage is an answer, right? An instant speed answer to Greasefang.
Yeah, I think they have a Reckless Rage in their hand, and I believe they're choosing to hold the Reckless Rage and hopefully be able to get Greasefang because they already have a vehicle in their graveyard. Greasefang on this turn would really be a blowout. So it's really good that they did that.
Yeah.
That they chose to wait on the Reckless Rage, make sure they hit the problematic creature of Greasefang.
One of the points of okay, interesting. Deciding to trade then.
Yeah, I would have thought the Boros Heroic player would care not so much about their life, but I guess they feel the Swiftspear can't really get through. Oh, and it looks like, again, they have a lot of creatures in their hand.
And a deck that wants to fling spells in.
It looks like one of the cards they have in their hand is a Braid. So right here, I think, personally, a Braid stops Greasefang, yes. However, if they have another Greasefang in their hand and you take a turn off to be able to abrade it, you're not advancing your game plan and you're just giving them more time. And then let's say you hold up an abrade and next turn they pull out a Shieldred. You've just lost the game at that point.
And we're seeing, I guess, a small consequence of blocking with the Swiftspear there, in that could have been 2 extra damage, or they would have been able to Define Strike the one Monastery Swiftspear and then see what their options are like. So like in this position, they would have had 2 mana open, which meant they might have been able to end of turn abrade the Chariot.
Yeah, I'm not sure about using abrade on the Chariot. I think maybe if they start trying to crew the Chariot, then you abrade it.
Yeah.
This is the 10th District Legionnaire.
Yeah, a very good Boros card. And one thing as well is we saw that you dealt with the Greasefang, but the Greasefang player, it's kind of weird. And there's some discussions about like deck archetypes named after one card. Because you deal with the Greasefang, you think, well, yeah, they're a Greasefang deck, they're dead. But actually, Seeker's Chariot, a 4-mana card that just generates more creatures every turn. Super valuable. And
ooh, this is huge. I think this is Soren Vengeful Bloodlord. I'm not sure on the name, but it gives all of your creatures lifelink as it's static, I believe.
Yeah, it's very powerful, especially against an aggressive deck. And one of the more important things about it could resurrect a Greasefang.
So they're probably gonna just bring Chariot back to. Oh no, we see another Reckless Rage.
Okay, so very good.
They're still in this game.
Yeah, very much still in the game. And the Scry here is going to be very helpful as well with the Legionary.
Yeah, did you see that though? You may have missed it. Greasefang was able to crew the Chariot before it died. So now the Chariot and the 2 cats can attack, which I believe that's what's going to happen. Because why do you need blockers back? If they are... Ooh, I'm surprised, because I believe Soren gives lifelink, right?
He does give lifelink, but they would just die, and then... Obviously, the Greasefang only has 1 card in hand. They'll be top decking an answer.
True.
A top decking like more ways to crew the Chariot, which in that position you might as well.
True. I forgot that the Swiftspear was a 2/3 now off prowess, and obviously the Legionnaire is a 2/2. No, a 3/3. So
3/3
you're
now.
right. So you're just throwing away 2 cats to gain 4 life, which isn't good.
And we are seeing sort of one of the downfalls of playing a deck like Boros Heroic, where you're not really drawing the spells, right? Like, turn 4, they played the Seeker's Chariot. They were at 16 health life. And you sat there thinking, well, yikes, right? The Greasefang player was able to hold out, but that was also completely down to...
I mean, the issue with the Boros Heroic deck is if you get to this point, you have lost the game. Like, I would say there's pretty much no way that the Boros Heroic player can come back against this kind of board that the Greasefang player has, and the amount of life they're able to gain with Soren.
Yeah, there is, I guess, an argument for them to try to jump. Oh, but an Abrade. Okay, so that is coming into play, and she waited until after the crew, which is intelligent here. So that's 2 creatures tapped down.
Yeah, 1 creature left. So how much damage can they push through? What can they get off the Defiant Strike?
Ooh, a Tormund's Crypt off the top.
It feels a bit late. At least it triggers Prowess.
And every creature here can attack reliably. What would you like? I would probably send 2 at Soren, 1 at face, right? In this position. Because Soren will eventually be able to get back Greasefang.
You need to make sure that Soren dies. I mean, you don't care about the graveyard at the moment because the crypt will deal with that. But the lifelink is just too good.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's no blocks.
Yeah, opting not to block here. And a 3-mana play. What do you think? Is a Greasefang?
Yeah. I mean, in this situation, Greasefang it's a 4/3. It's not that bad of a blocker either.
And forcing a response of the Tormund's Crypt and going in. To be fair, blood in the water here. The Boros heroic player is actually on the back foot. And it looks like they drew a Dreadhorde Arcanist, which doesn't really help them here. I think if they had loads of cards in hand, then the Greasefang player may have been too scared to attack. But I think in this situation, if you attack with all now, you have lethal on board. And the Greasefang player has 2 cards in hand. We don't see him yet, and they are opting to attack with 1 creature, 1/3/3 creature, which a Greasefang player, obviously in that position, is kind of able to just, okay, I'll take that. A card here that's never really relevant, and I kind of want to talk about a little bit, is Gigantha in the sideboard.
Yeah.
I get it's a free card, but that's taken up a sideboard space, right?
I have played against Boros Heroic before, and Gigantha, if the game goes long, it's mostly used against the sort of mid-range decks. Let's say I have a load of Fatal Pushes. Oh, and here we see Greasefang get up back Parhelion. I believe this will be game.
Oh my word.
You do get the sort of 1-for-1 removal, and you sort of get to the point where the Boros Heroic player doesn't have any cards in hand. There's nothing on the board, but the mid-range player also doesn't have any cards in hand. And having the Gigantha to be able to, bring out a 5/5, it actually makes quite a difference, especially since it is basically free. It takes up a sideboard slot, but I still think it's worth it.
And we do see the Greasefang player did win this game, and it was very difficult for the heroic player, right? It was always going to be difficult when they're drawing mostly creatures, not enough of their spells to sort of break through that damage.
Agreed. It seemed very, very creature heavy, and I think that was one of the downfalls. And here we can see what they brought in: Abrade, 2 Tormund's Crypt, and here you see Glisses, Shieldreds, Fatal Push.
Yeah. I mean, one of the players got to see their sideboard at least.
That's true.
Yeah,
and it didn't help.
Yeah, not this time, Jay, you are right. But if you do like these videos on this channel, please subscribe. It's a free button. You press it and you'll see more Magic content in your feed. And you can always unsubscribe and it won't cost you any money. And you don't even have to tell your nan. You can just do it. You're there and you'll see more of us. Come back to some more. You'll see the links on the video right now. We are here and we also do some streaming. So please, please, please be with us then. Thank you very much. All the best. Stay in touch. Kisses. Bye.